What's going on, everyone? Jack here from HappyModel, and today I've got something pretty awesome. This is the Moblite7, and I've got the Moblite6 on the way as well, but I thought I'd make a video on this one specifically because it brings some really unique things to the table. If you're interested in flying FPV, then this is definitely something you want to put on your list. Stay tuned, and I'll tell you why. All right, so let's talk about why I really like this. Now, it is a Whoop, obviously, but it's on a 75mm frame. It's pretty much the same as the old Moblite6, and they stretched it out. Now, there are some different components, and I'll talk about those later, but what really makes this unique is they're saving weight. This thing is just under 20 grams, and that's pretty darn spectacular. Because it's on a 75mm frame, you're getting 40mm props. That means you're getting more power and more efficiency. Now, these two blade props are pretty darn efficient. I was getting flight times of up to 10 minutes. Now, I was really pushing this battery, and you get two. They're 1S 650 milliamp hour batteries, and yes, 9-10 minutes doable. That's impressive, especially when you think about this. This is my Betaflight Meteor 65, and this is, by most standards, one of the best Whoops you can get. This is 22 grams, and it flies on a 300 milliamp hour battery. One of these. But I'm only getting like 2.5 minutes of flight time out of this. 2.5 minutes versus 10? That's a big difference. So I can fly forever on this, and that's awesome. Now, to be fair, I do prefer the flight characteristics of these smaller 65mm quads, and they just seem a little bit more responsive, a little more nimble. I'm able to control the throttle a little bit better. Now, I'm not the greatest flyer. I'm not going to pretend that I am. And, you know, Chris and I did some racing the other day with Whoops, and we found whoever had the Moblite6 ended up winning versus this, right? We raced this, we raced this guy, and we raced the Mob6, and turns out the Moblite6 was the best drone, whoever was flying it, right? So it is, again, super light, which is kind of the whole deal. 75mm motor post to motor post. This flight controller is an F4 with an all-in-one built-in ESC. It's 5 amp with a 6 amp burst. Now that's important because I was getting a little over 4 amps flying this thing as I was kind of watching it. So I was thinking, gosh, you know, 3 blade propellers with a slightly bigger pitch might be better, might give me a little more throttle control, but I'm kind of curious what that'll actually do. Maybe that might really kind of draw too many amps, so we'll see. Right, so that's one thing that I do want to test. These motors are new 0802 19,000 kV motors, and they had this new Unibel design, and they did that in order to save some weight. The VTX is actually built into this flight controller, which is really nice, and it's switchable from 25 to 200 milliwatts, so you can get this thing out a little bit further. Mine came with a built-in SPI receiver, so I can connect this thing to my Radio Master using the CLI, which is super cool. I got an FR Sky version. The camera is the Runcam Nano 3, and it has a pretty decent picture. The battery connector is the PH 2.0, and they do look like solid pins, so that's nice. You know, with all these different batteries out there, I kind of prefer the PH 2.0 mostly because I have most of those batteries. Now, people will tell you it's not the best or most efficient, right? The BT 2.0, the ET 2.0, or the GMB 27 all do a slightly better job, but you know, when it comes to just kind of flying around, I don't think that makes a huge difference. Now, you will notice that there's no canopy. So this camera is actually pushed out in front, which is nice because you don't get the props in the view. You don't get the ducks in the view, which is cool. But it's also not really very well protected. This TPU doesn't extend over the lens. I'm pretty sure that I scratched mine already. Now, that said, it's still kicking. Without the canopy, there also isn't a whole lot of protection for this flight controller. You do have this strap that goes over it, but eventually that's going to break. And also the camera angle can be adjusted by just kind of pulling this strap back and increasing the angle. And then you stick the screw right in there to kind of hold it in place. There are some holes already set for different camera angles. I found that, well, I had to make a new hole to get the camera angle that I liked flying. I'm thinking about trying some different things. I already mentioned the 3-blade propellers, hopefully to give me a little bit more throttle control. Again, I don't know how that's going to work with ESCs. We'll find out. I'm also considering maybe adding this canopy for a little bit better protection for the flight controller and the camera as well. You know, there's also the JESC firmware to give you a little bit more flight time, or the Jazz Maverick. So I'm going to think about doing that. Who knows? Why not more flight time, right? Make this thing a little bit more efficient. So we'll check that out too. Other than that, there is one suggestion I think you should do to this before you get it up in the air, and that is this VTX antenna is just sitting on there with a UFL connector. And in my experience, UFL connectors will pop off. And if you're flying and you crash and that pops off, especially if you're at 200 milliwatts, that's going to fry the VTX. So grab a hot glue gun or some welder glue and throw a dab over the UFL connector just to kind of help keep it in place. Yes, you're adding a tiny bit of weight, but that'll help ensure you don't burn out your VTX. All right, so in each of my FPV videos, I'm going to try and throw in a short Betaflight clip, something to kind of help you figure that out as you go. Maybe it's something you know, maybe it's something you don't, but let's go ahead and connect this guy to Betaflight, and that's just with a micro USB controller. Now you can see that I'm already in here. Let's go to the configuration tab. Now you can see a couple of different things, right? Let's notice that the motors are reversed. That's good to know if you didn't quite pick up on that. But I'm going to look down here to this personalization, right? So as I was flying, you saw Moblite7. Okay, so if you want to put like your call sign or your name on the screen when you're flying, looking through your goggles, you can do that right here, right? So where it says personalization, here we have Moblite7. I'm going to change that. Let's put half chrome. Okay, so now when I click save and reboot, that personalization is going to save there. So let's just connect it again and click on configuration. And we can see now in my FPV goggles, we're going to see half chrome. And if I just go to OSD, I can confirm that that's going to show, and I can actually move it around, right? So right there, we can see half chrome at the bottom. If I wanted to move it up to the top, I could just drag and drop it up there, but I kind of like it at the bottom. You know, this OSD is kind of fun. You can customize it and add the things on here that you like. You could even save your OSD profile so that it, you know, you can set up all your quads kind of the same. So that is how you do your little call sign or your name when you're flying FPV. We click save and we're good to go. All right, so I hope that was helpful. If you're looking for a Moblite7 or really anything, make sure you click on those links in the description down below. They're affiliate links, and that's how you can help support this channel. We also have a Patreon, so if you're looking for a free drone, we give one away once a month to one of our Patreon subscribers. So my Patrons knew this thing was coming. If you haven't already, check us out on halfchrome.com. Hey, good luck everyone, and happy flying.